So in this video, we are going to create a simple PHP website. As this is our first one, we're going to keep it pretty straightforward. We're going to have a sign up form for a website that will send the data over to a server-side process, which will basically just display the data that we submitted on the form. So to get started, we're going to need a server. The application we're using for that is EasyPHP. So if you have a search or look for EasyPHP, when you do that, it won't pop up initially. What you'll need to do is down in the bottom right of your screen, if you click the wee arrow or it shows up, there'll be an E there. You want to right click on that E and you'll see it says stop and restart. So our server has started and we want to go to administration. When you do that, it should open your web browser, take you to this page here. You can see there's a whole host of things going on here. What we're interested in is an alias. So it says local files and then add an alias next to it. I already have one from setting things up, which I'll show you just now, and we'll come back in just a moment and create our own one. So I'm going to click on my AH folder for Advanced Hire, and you'll see I can see this sign up folder. And in there I've got a couple of files. I've got a newsletter.html and processdata.php. So from my server, I'm going to click on newsletter.html and it should open the website. And so I'm a bit zoomed in here just to make things clearer, but I've got a basic wee web page here that asks for your name. So Jane, email, jane@gmail.com, and then I've got a wee drop down here for the age. So I'll just choose 1 to 18. When I click submit, this data is going to be sent to a different file called processdata.php. So I click submit, and it's able to display the data back to me. Very hello world-esque, but we're dealing with two different files. I can see up in my address at the top, we're in the processdata.php file. And I've got a back button that would take me back. So that's what we're going to build. So first thing we need to do, is if I close this, is we need to create our own alias. An alias is just a location on your device. So in school, where we're using these files, we'll have to use a local area that is available, not one of our glow files. So that makes things slightly tricky. But what we're going to do is we're going to click add an alias, and it'll ask us for the name of the alias. So if I call this demo, you could call yours Advanced Hire or whatever you want to call it. And then it asks you to copy the path to the directory you have created. So where are the files we want to save on our server? So if I go into my folders, we need a local file. It won't work with our glow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my downloads and work from there. And I'll just have to make sure that I back up my data at the end of the lesson. So I've got to downloads. You can see there's the previous folder I was just looking at that had the sign up in it. I'm going to create a new folder in here. I'm going to call it demo. And then in here is where I can put all my files. And I could have further subfolders with different websites in here. I need the address for this location. So I can just click up the top of my address bar here, and I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it into the path down here. So you give it a name, you tell it where the folder is, and you read the warning and click save. And hopefully that goes off with no issues. Excellent. And now you can see I've got two areas here that I can access. The one I already had built and a new one. So if I click on demo, there's nothing in it. It's empty. So I can close that just now. We have to go and create the files. So if I minimize that, in my demos folder here, we need to create two files. We need to create a form to submit the data, and we need to create the PHP file to receive the data and process it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my editor of choice, which is Notepad++. And I'm going to create a form that lets you submit data. Now, I'm not going to do that line by line. I wrote one earlier, and that's because this is covered at higher. I'll zoom out a wee bit actually. There we go. So I'm going to save this. And I'll go and find the folder I created. So I'm going to go into my downloads, the demo folder, and I'm going to call this newsletter.html. There we go. So if you pause the video here, you can copy that form out, and then we can pick up after you've got the form ready. So once your form's ready, we can check this is working. I can just run it in my editor here, launching Chrome, and I can see that looks good. I can type in data. When I click submit, nothing really happens. So what we're going to do now for advanced hire is we're going to change what happens to the data. So in the opening tag for the form, we need to put two things. We need to say where this data is going, what file we want to load when the form is submitted. So I'm going to put action equals, and in a set of quotes, you specify the file you would like to open. So I'm going to create a file called process data. And obviously it doesn't exist yet, but it will in a minute. Process data.php. So a PHP file is a file that can run on your server, which means it can do like programming language things like Python or Java or anything else where it can do ifs and loops. So we can take that data and we can do stuff with it. So PHP is a server-side language. So we're going to name it .php. And then the other part is how we want to send the data. So we need to give it a method. Method equals, and in a set of quotes, you can either write get or post. Get sends the data via the URL, and post sends the data in a non-visible way, so it's more secure. So in general, you would want to use the post method, but today I'm going to use get because I'll be able to show you the data showing up in the URL. So we'll go with get, which is insecure because the data we submit through this form will be in the URL, but we'll be able to see it and be able to check things are working properly. So we've added 2 bits to our form. These are the new bits for advanced hire, and I can click save. So now we've got our form all set up. We now need to create this process data.php file. So I'm going to make a new file. I'm just going to save it quickly. So save as, and make sure I'm in the right folder. Process data.php. Oh, sorry, yeah, it's .php. And then when we're in here, when I click the submit button on my form, what I want to do is I want it to come up with, sign up successful or sign up complete, something like that. So I'm actually going to start my PHP file with a HTML tag, because in a PHP file you can still display HTML tags in your browser. We'll read them, interpret them, and display them properly. So that's pretty handy. So I've got HTML. I'm just going to set up a basic page here. I'm going to have a body, and then down the bottom we'll close the body tag, and we will close the HTML tag. And then inside there we'll just do a wee bit of setup. I'll put a wee heading. We'll say something like sign up complete. I think that's what I did before. And then I'll put a wee subheading saying details. Cool. And then we're going to have the details of the person's name, their age, and their email address. And I'll have a wee link at the bottom of the page going back, so I'll put a wee hyperlink in there. Just make sure you're putting the right address if you called your file something different. So I'm going to go back to newsletter.html. Cool. So once we've done that, we need to do the bit in the middle, which will let us retrieve the data from the form and then display it. So this is where the PHP really starts. In the middle here, and again, I'm just taking a bit of blank space to make it readable. We're going to create some PHP tags. PHP tags look a wee bit different. You start with the arrow, but then we're going to use a question mark and then PHP. And then the closing tag is question mark and the arrow. And you'll see it's just one big item. So it's a wee bit different from before. And the PHP code that we're going to write is going to run inside of here. So for our PHP code, we want to get the data from this form. So the form has a couple of different things. It's got the name, it's got its input is a type of text, and it's got the name label. So this is the label that's sent along with the data. We've got an email, and it's got a name of email, and we've got an age, which has got a name of age. So these three labels of age, email, and name make it a lot easier to retrieve the data over this side. So we need three variables to save that data so we can then do things with the variables. So to make a variable in PHP, we are doing $, and then whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to call it name because I want the person's name. I'm going to say equals. And we can just set it as a string or something if we want, but we're wanting to get the data from the form. So there's a command to do that, and it's $, underscore, and then in capitals we're going to write get. If we had used the post method on the form, we would write post here. It works pretty much the exact same way for writing the code, just the difference is get and post. And then I have square brackets, and inside the square brackets I need to say which bit of data from the form I would like to retrieve. So I'm going to say the name, so the name field, and PHP lines end with a semicolon. So this means created a variable called name. I'm then going to get it, and we're getting the name bit of data from the form. So we're going to do that 3 times. So because I'm a wee bit lazy, I'm going to copy paste. We want to get the age, and we will get age, and we want to get the email as well, and we will get the email. So you just need to make sure that the 3 labels you've got here, name, age, and email, match up with whatever was on your form. So whatever the name equals, name equals, name equals, make sure that these match up with what we're typing in the square brackets. So that's us got 3 variables. We now need to just display them on the page. So the command to display something on your page is echo. So you can say echo, you get a wee space, there's no brackets or anything, and we can then tell it what we'd like to echo. And we want to display these 3 variables, but we probably want to display them like in a nice, sensible way. So I'm going to do that in a paragraph. So I can echo some HTML tags. So I can echo a paragraph tag, and your browser will know that it wants to draw a paragraph. So I'm going to echo that, and I'll say name, I'll put a wee colon, and then I'm going to use the name of the variable. So $, name. And that, you can see, is bold, so it recognises it as a variable. And then I can just finish the paragraph, and I can put a semicolon at the end of the line. So that's just a normal paragraph. The only difference is we've put this $name. If I was to take that out, like that looks really, really easy. So we're only adding in this variable, and the PHP will get that data and display it. And then when you do that 3 times, we're going to display the name, the age, and the email. So I'm going to put that in there. So we're going to, this time, oh, I'm missing a quote. My bad. So I'll go back. So at the end of the closing tag there, I need a quote. I didn't notice until I copy pasted it. So that's what the line should look like. We're going to take that, I'm going to paste it 3 times, and I'm going to give them different labels and messages. So age, and we'll be displaying the age variable, and then we're going to have the email, and we're going to display the email variable. Cool. And that is actually us all done. So when this page loads, this PHP page, it's going to display the 2 headings at the top. We then switch to PHP code. It retrieves the 3 variables, or retrieves the 3 bits of form data, and we assign those to variables in PHP so we can then use them. And then we echo the data back onto the page so it displays it in the browser, sends it to your browser to read. And the browser is just going to read this p tag and display the variable as a paragraph. So it's going to say name, and then Jane, age, and then 15. And we've got a wee link at the bottom. So you can start and close your PHP tag inside of your HTML. Really, really handy. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to make sure my newsletter's saved as well. And hopefully we've got this working. So if the code is set up, what we now need to do is we need to go back to our server. And then when I go into demo, I've created 2 files now. So hopefully they're there. Brilliant. And I'm starting on the newsletter.html. And it's opened it up here. And I'm going to type some data in. So Jane at gmail.com, and I'm choosing age, 18 to 50. And hopefully when I click submit, it's going to send these 3 bits of data to the PHP form, or the PHP file. and it looks like it's worked. So sign up complete, details, Jane 1850, jane@gmail.com, and I can go and check this is working properly by going back and doing something slightly different. So I'll put Sam at Gmail, and we'll make that Sam50 plus. So when I click submit, the data has changed here on the PHP form. And if we look up to the top, I'll maybe get the magnifier for this. If we look up to the top, we can actually see in the address where we're at. So we're in the demo folder. We're using processdata.php as the name of the file. And then after that, you can see some of the data that's been sent to the file. So name equals Sam, email equals sam@gmail.com, and age equals 50 plus. So we can actually see the data is available there. So if we were sending a username or a password, we would maybe not want to use the get method. The get method is the thing that makes this visible. If we use post, that wouldn't be visible. It would not be there. But there's pros and cons to using both. So that's us. We've created a basic website where we can send data from a HTML form onto a PHP process.